So yesterday we discussed something about transport in plants. Once again I will reveal the yesterday topic, what I explained. Just stay with us to understand the topic till the end of time. Okay, so substances are moved in the plant to various parts of the plant along with water, minerals, chemical stimuli, etc. So here for over shorter distance, the movement of substance takes place by diffusion. It is one of the process which takes place in the plants. So the movement of substance move from one part of the cell to other part, or between the two cells, or in the tissue, between the cells in the tissue. So the process diffusion takes place for the movement of substances within the cell, between the cells, in the tissue, between the cells in the tissue. For a long distance, there is a particular process, there is a specific process, there is a translocation. So the movement of substances takes place through the vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem. The phenomenon is called translocation. Translocation. So these are the process which takes place in the plant for the transport of the substances from one end to another end, from one cell to another cell, within the tissues, and long distance also. So here is an important aspect we discussed that. So the direction of the movement of substance. So how all the substances are moving in same direction or otherwise in different directions. So particularly water which moves from root to shoot, that is a unidirection, only in one direction, that is root to shoot. So whereas photosynthesis, the food material which are synthesized in the leaves, or to be moved to various parts of the plant, including storage organs, and tip of the root, which is embedded in the deeper layers of the soil. So the transport of the photosynthetics are multidirectional. That is the transport of the photosynthesis, that is the food material, etc. It is a multi-direction. Different. Why? Because in unfavorable condition, the food material move from storage organs to growing tip of the plant. For example, so which is stored in the roots. So in unfavorable condition, it is retranslocate to the leaf. Hence, the food materials are move multidirectionally. The water moves unidirection, the food material moves multidirection. So not only these, some of the hormones, vitamins, chemicals, chemical stimuli, which are also transport in the plant. So those are also move multi-direction, and the hormones and chemical stimuli shows polarized movement from synthesis point to action point. Always it moves from synthesis point to action point. Thus, the food materials and chemical stimuli which move multidirectionally. So, means of transport. So, what are the means which takes place in the transport for the movement of substance? The first one is, we discussed that diffusion. So the movement of diffusion is a passive movement. movement. Why it is called passive movement? There is no energy consumption. No energy, metabolic energy is consumed for the movement of substances within the cell or between the cells or in the tissue. Sometimes the evaporation of the water from intercellular spaces to atmosphere, into the atmosphere also takes place, diffusion. Whatever you say that transpiration, so during the transpiration, the water moves out as a water vapors from intercellular spaces to outer surface, atmosphere, that is also takes place diffusion. So there is no living system is involved in diffusion. The diffusion, in diffusion, there is no involvement of any living system. No living system is involved in diffusion. It takes place only on concentration gradient. You know the definition. Diffusion means the movement of ions or particles from higher concentration region to lower concentration region. So only depends on the concentration gradient, the diffusion takes place. Hence, it is a passive movement without involvement of any metabolic energy. So another one is there is no involvement of living system. So the diffusion is a very obvious. The diffusion is very obvious for the movement of gases and water in the plant. So the diffusion, the process of diffusion is very essential in the plants, very obvious, quite obvious, because for the movement of gases and water in the plant. So it is obvious. It is necessary for the movement of gases also. So what is diffusion? The movement of substance, particles, ions or any particles move from high concentration region to low concentration region. High concentration to low concentration region just depends on the concentration gradient. So the process of the diffusion is affected by some factors. That also we discussed yesterday. So the factors which affect. So one of the first one is concentration gradient. Concentration gradient is affect the diffusion. Second one is permeability of membrane. The membrane which is separating the two systems, that is the permeability of the membrane also affect the diffusion. The third one is temperature. The fourth one is pressure. These are the factors influence the diffusion. So let me discuss the another one, facilitated diffusion. That is also we discussed yesterday. Just I am revealing you facilitated diffusion. What is meant by facilitated? So when it occurs, when it requires for facilitated diffusion. So here the diffusion depends on the size of particles, size of substance, and solubility of the substance in the lipids. So the diffusion depends on the size of substance. When the substance particles are smaller in size, the diffusion takes place faster. That is quite natural. A lightweight particle moves very fast in the air. So similarly, the diffusion also takes place very fast when the substances are very small. And the another one is the solubility of the substance in the liquid. Why in the lipid? So why the membrane, cell membrane is made up with lipids. The major constituent of the cell membrane is lipid. Hence, the substances are soluble in the lipid. The diffusion takes place very fast. So, when facilitated diffusion is required. sometimes hydrophilic substances are not pass across the membrane, for example, this is the membrane. So some of the hydrophilic substances, some of the larger substance which is not pass across the membrane, which can be facilitated to diffusion, special proteins which are present in the membrane can provide the larger pores to pass across the membrane, pass the substance across the membrane. So some hydrophilic substances are not pass across the membrane, not diffuse across the membrane, because the size of the particles are large. So such substances are facilitated to diffuse by special proteins. Special proteins which are present in the membrane that can be diffuse the substances across the membrane. For this purpose, there is no need of additional concentration gradient. Why? Because already concentration gradient is established. So there is no need of additional concentration gradient. The movement of the substance through the special proteins, the movement of the diffusion of the substances through the special proteins in the membrane is called facilitated diffusion. What? Facilitated diffusion. So the movement of substances, hydrophilic substances across the membrane by special proteins is called facilitated diffusion. So the special proteins help in the membrane. The special proteins help in diffusion of the such substances is called facilitated diffusion. So the facilitated diffusion is need not any energy. Without consuming of any energy, the facilitated diffusion takes place by special proteins. It does not take place against the concentration. So even though it is a facilitated diffusion, it does not take place from low concentration to high concentration. If it is required, takes place, it needs some energy. Because of that, there is no requirement of energy. It is not utilized any energy. So thus, even though facilitated diffusion is also not takes place against the concentration gradient. So when the facilitated diffusion takes place, so particularly when the trans proteins, whatever we say, the proteins which are involving diffusion, particularly involving diffusion, in the membrane, all the trans protein membranes are being engaged or saturated. At that time, the cells are allowed to select the substance to diffuse in such condition, a special condition only. When all trans proteins are being saturated or being engaged, then the cells are allowed to select some substance to diffuse through the membrane. In such conditions, only all the transmembrane proteins are being engaged, then only it takes place by facilitated diffusion. The facilitated diffusion also inhibited by some inhibitors. So a protein means it is a chain of amino acids. So the inhibitors are attached to bind with the side protein chains. Hence the diffusion is inhibited because of the inhibitors. The inhibitors which are bind with the side protein chains. So here the special proteins are which form the large pores. Some of the pores are open forever, some of the pores are controlled. So the porine is a large pore. Porine is a P-O-R-I-N. Porine is a large pore which is formed by the special proteins. The porins which are formed by the special proteins, that holes are called porins. Porine is nothing but a pore. Which is formed by the special proteins in the membrane. Such porins are present in the outer membrane of plastids, mitochondria and bacterial cell, which allow the particles as small as size of the small proteins, as small size of the proteins across the membrane. So another thing we discussed in the transport in plants. So the transport is two types: active transport, passive transport. Passive and active transport. Passive transport without consuming the energy. No energy is utilized. So here, with utilization of the energy, metabolic energy is utilized for active transport. There is no utilization of the energy in passive movement. Passive movement takes place according to the concentration gradient. Active movement takes place against the concentration gradient. So same time we discussed that symport, antiport and uniport. So while the substances are passed through the membrane, depending on its movement, both the substances are moved across the membrane in one direction. That is called symport. Symport means union. So both the unit by substances are moving together in one direction. Antiports, the substances are moved in different direction across the membrane. So at the same time, and that is called antiport. So the substance which is pass across independently without other molecules, then it is called uniport. So the same time we discuss plant water relation. So in plant water relation, the important thing is water potential. Water potential. What is water potential? The chemical energy of the water is called water potential. Chemical energy of water is called water potential, or the free energy of water also called water potential. The greatest system of water consists of greatest kinetic energy. That kinetic energy is nothing but water potential. Another two words, solute potential and pressure potential. Both the solute potential and pressure potential which determine the water potential. Here, according to the definition, a pure water has high water potential. A pure water always has high water potential. Pure water which always has the high water potential. When the two water containing systems are connected with one another, always the water moves from high water potential to low water potential region. High water potential to low water potential region. So according to depending on the water potential, in plants also the water moves from high water potential region to low water potential. The water potential, which is denoted with Greek word psi W, which can be measured in pascals. At constant temperature and atmosphere, the water potential, the pure water potential is always positive. Then same time we discussed that solute potential. Solute potential means when we add the solute to the water, it lowers the water molecule. It fuels the water molecule. The magnitude which lower the free water molecules, that is called solute potential. Solution potential. The solute which is decrease the water potential, that is called solute potential. Solution potential which can be denoted as psi S. It is always negative. In a water system, always the water potential is psi W equal to the psi S. Psi W equal to the psi S. The next word we discussed that the pressure potential. So at constant temperature, if we increase the atmospheric pressure on both pure water or solution water, the water potential is gradually increased. So it is an important thing if you remember that. So at constant temperature, if we increase the atmospheric pressure on both pure water or solution, the water potential is increase. So such potential is increased in the plant cell, because when the water enters into the cell, it creates some pressure in the protoplasm. The protoplasm which exerts the pressure on cell wall, because of the outward pressure, because of the outward pressure, the cells are turgid. The pressure which is increased by the movement of water, that is called pressure potential. Pressure potential. The pressure which is increased in the cell by the movement of water, that is called pressure potential. The pressure which is increase the water potential, that is called pressure potential. The pressure potential which can be denoted as psi p. Always psi p is the pressure potential is positive, but whereas in xylem, in plants, xylem water column, it is negative. Because of that, the water moves upward. The water movement takes place upward through the xylem. So, all the water potential is always equal to the solution potential and pressure potential. In a system, the psi W is always equal to the solution potential plus pressure potential. So these things we discussed yesterday. Now we continue the topic, another means of transport, osmosis. So I think you heard this word. All of you know, very much aware of this osmosis. You can also recall we learned this process in lower classes. So before going to discuss osmosis, so you know that cell structure. The plant cell is surrounded by two layers. One is cell wall, another one is cell membrane. The plant cells are bounded with the cell wall and cell membrane. The cell wall allows all types of substances into it. It is not a barrier for any substance. It allows all the substances into it. So the plant cell, which consists of a large central vacuole at the center. A plant cell which consists of a large vacuole at the center, which filled with the sap, that is called cell sap. Cell sap. The vacuole which is filled with the cell sap. So the cell membrane and vacuole membrane contribute together for the movement of substance inside and outside. Inside and outside. The cell membrane and vacuole membrane both are together contribute the movement of substances move inside or outside. Osmosis is a special term to define the diffusion, to define the special type of, it is a term which we use to define the diffusion. The movement of water moves from low concentration to high concentration through the permeable membrane. Low concentration to high concentration. So there is a short break. We will come back within 2 minutes.
విద్యార్థుల భవిష్యత్తుకు బాటలు వేస్తూ మునుపెన్నడూ ఎరుగని అత్యుత్తమమైన ఫలితాలతో అద్భుతమైన విద్యా ప్రమాణాలతో ముందుకు దూసుకుపోతోంది శ్రద్ధ జూనియర్ కళాశాల. మహబూబ్నగర్ జిల్లా కేంద్రంలో ప్రముఖులు అనుభవజ్ఞులైన చైర్మన్ జగపతిరావు ఆధ్వర్యంలో 2011లో స్థాపించబడిన మా శ్రద్ధ జూనియర్ కళాశాల ఉన్నతమైన విద్యా ప్రమాణాలతో ఇంజనీరింగ్, మెడికల్లో చక్కని ర్యాంకుల సాధనలో విజయం వైపుగా కృషి చేస్తోంది. ఇంజనీరింగ్ అయినా, మెడికల్ అయినా శ్రద్ధ జూనియర్ కళాశాల విద్యార్థులదే పై చేయి. ఇంటర్తో పాటు ఐఐటి, నీట్, ఎంసెట్ నందు లాంగ్ టర్మ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ద్వారా కార్పొరేట్ కళాశాలలో 20 సంవత్సరాల అనుభవం కలిగిన అధ్యాపక బృందంచే ప్రత్యేక శిక్షణ తరగతులు నిర్వహిస్తూ డైలీ ప్రాక్టీస్ పేపర్స్, వీక్లీ టెస్ట్, కౌన్సిలింగ్ ద్వారా విద్యార్థుల నైపుణ్యం మెరుగుపరచడం మా ప్రత్యేకత. హ్యాండ్బాల్, ఫుట్బాల్, క్రికెట్ లో మా విద్యార్థులు జాతీయ క్రీడాకారులుగా గుర్తింపు పొందుతున్నారు. జిల్లా కేంద్రంలో సొంత భవనాలలో కళాశాలలు, విద్యార్థులకు ఉదయం, సాయంత్రం వేళలో స్టడీ అవర్స్, ఐఐటి, నీట్ లో ప్రముఖుల నిపుణులచే విద్యా బోధన, బాలికల కోసం ప్రత్యేక క్యాంపస్, ఎంపీసీ, బైపీసీ గ్రూపులతో కో ఎడ్యుకేషన్, ఎంపీసీ, బైపీసీ, ఎంఈసీ, సిఈసీ గ్రూపులతో గర్ల్స్ క్యాంపస్, ఎంపీసీ, బైపీసీ గ్రూపులతో పాటు ఐఐటి, నీట్, ఎంసెట్లతో అకాడమీ.
I am Mariam Makbool. I passed out from Shraddha Junior College in 2017 from BIPC. Currently, I have passed out from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I finished my bachelor's. So one thing which is very striking about this institute is the immense and genuine amount of effort that the team of faculty puts and takes up for the success of students and their prosperity. And another thing that is very remarkable about this place is they ignited in me the spirit of competitiveness, which is very necessary in this globally evolving market world. There was one Sanskrit slok which I learnt when I was very young. Udhyame nahi siddhyanti karyani na manorataihi nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mruga. This means you cannot just achieve anything just by thinking of it. You need to put in effort. That is what I have learnt from this institute. Like, even though lion is king of jungle, it has to hunt for its own prey, which is what I have learnt from Shraddha Junior College.
I am Uday Kiran. I have completed my intermediate in Shraddha Junior College in 2019, and I have joined Streamridge Institute of Science and Technology, and I scored my JEE Mains percentile as 98.19, and due to some other problems I didn't join NIT, and I have scored my MCET rank as 4500. And here the lecturers take the special care with each and every student.
సీనియర్ మరియు జూనియర్ ఇంటర్ అడ్మిషన్ల కోసం సంప్రదించవలసిన మా చిరునామా శ్రద్ధ జూనియర్ కళాశాల కో ఎడ్యుకేషన్ క్యాంపస్ మెట్టుగడ్డ. మీరు సంప్రదించవలసిన మా ఫోన్ నెంబర్ 9494430200. ప్రత్యేకమైన గర్ల్స్ క్యాంపస్ కోసం సంప్రదించవలసిన మా చిరునామా ఆపోజిట్ పంచవటి హోటల్ న్యూ టౌన్ మహబూబ్ నగర్. మా ఫోన్ నెంబర్ 7337294653. ఐఐటి నీట్ అకాడమీ కోసం సంప్రదించవలసిన మా చిరునామా శ్రద్ధ జూనియర్ కళాశాల మెట్టుగడ్డ. మా ఫోన్ నెంబర్ 9491629962.
Continue the class. Let's discuss the process next. Osmosis. Osmosis, you know the term already you learnt in lower classes, so you know the definition. Though I will explain you. So osmosis is a special term we use to define the diffusion. It is a type of diffusion. The movement of water from low concentration to high concentration region through the permeable membrane is called osmosis. The osmosis is occur spontaneously according to the concentration gradient. The osmosis is occur spontaneously according to the concentration. So the direction of the water, the direction of the movement and rate of the osmosis depends on the osmotic pressure and concentration gradient. Osmotic pressure and concentric gradient. The osmosis is the movement of water from low concentration region to high concentration region through the permeable membrane. Then only it is a osmosis. The osmosis occur spontaneously. So the rate of osmosis and direction of the osmosis depends on both the osmotic potential, osmotic pressure and concentration gradient. So most of the water can absorbed by the plants by osmosis. So the plants are absorbing most of the water by osmosis. The modern definition of the osmosis is the movement of water from high water potential region to low water potential region. According to modern definition, the osmosis is movement of the water from high water potential region to low water potential region. So we can explain. I think you did demonstrated some experiment in lower classes. That is potato osmoscope experiment. So we can demonstrate the osmosis at school level with the potato osmoscope experiment. So just the peeled potato which is placed in the water containing beaker, and the cavity of the potato which is filled with the concentrated sugar solution. So after some times, the level of the water increase in the cavity because of osmosis. Because of very simple experiment, with a simple experiment, we can explain the osmosis, we can demonstrate the osmosis at school level in lower classes. So just take a potato and peel out and make a cavity filled with the sugar solution. The potatoes which is placed in the low concentration water containing container. So after some times the water level increase in the cavity. So because of the osmosis. Another experiment also there to explain the osmosis, that is thistle funnel experiment. Thistle funnel experiment. With thistle funnel experiment also we can explain the osmosis. In thistle funnel, the wide mouth thistle funnel is filled with the concentrated sugar solution. The thistle funnel which is placed in the water containing beaker, so which is separate with the thistle funnel, wide mouth is separated by the plasma membrane, and it is placed in the beaker. So we can get the plasma membrane from egg. When the egg is placed in the concentric hydrochloric acid, gradually the outer shell dissolve and the membrane is intact. The membrane, which in the membrane a small hole is made and white and yellow substances removed, and which we use as a permeable membrane to separate the concentrated sugar solution and water. After some times, the level of the water increase in the stock of the funnel because of the osmosis. The water which is diffused through the permeable membrane into the thistle funnel. Hence, the level of the water increase in the funnel. So the process takes place till the equilibrium reach in both the areas. So the osmosis takes place till the equilibrium reach in both the sides. So thus we can explain with the. So when we apply a external pressure on the funnel, on the stock of funnel, it prevents the process of osmosis. The pressure which is exerted externally, that is called osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. The pressure which is exerted from outside on the funnel to prevent the osmosis, the pressure is called osmotic pressure. So greater the concentration of the solution, greater the osmotic pressure. When the concentration of the sugar solution increases, to prevent the osmosis, it requires osmotic pressure greater. So greater the concentration of the solution requires greater the osmotic pressure. Numerically, osmotic pressure and osmotic potential both are similar. But whereas the osmotic pressure is positive, osmotic potential is negative. So thus this is one of the means for the transport of this substance. Osmosis is also one of them. Most of the water is absorbed by the plants by the process of osmosis. Okay, this is the osmosis. Next means of transport is plasmolysis. I think you didn't heard this word plasmolysis, but you are very much aware of that plasmolysis. You are very much aware of plasmolysis also. You practically you know. So what is plasmolysis? The behavior of the cell, the behavior of plant cell or any cell depends on the surrounding water. The behavior of the plant cell depends on the surrounding of water for the movement of water inside or outside. The movement of water inside and outside depends on the outside the water or solution. So the external water, the external solution concentration is equal to the cytoplasm of cell. The external solution concentration is equal to the balance the cytoplasm. There is no net movement on either side, inside or outside. Such solution is called isotonic solution. What is isotonic? The behavior of the cell depends on the external or surrounding water, surrounding solution. If the external surrounding solution concentration is balanced the cytoplasm, equal to the cytoplasm, there is no net movement on either side. Both the concentrations are equal. Both the concentrations are equilibrium. So such solution is called isotonic solution. There is no change on either side. The second type of solution, the external solution concentration is lower than cytoplasm. The external solution concentration is lower than cytoplasm. That is known as hypotonic solution. Here in hypotonic solution, the water moves into the cell. The cells are swell up. So the third one is the external solution concentration is greater than cytoplasm. That is hypertonic solution. Here the cell lost the water and shrink, plasmolyzed. The cells are placed in hypertonic solution. The cells are plasmolyzed or shrink. These are the four types of solution. Depends on the type of solution. The behavior of the cell depends. So now our topic is what is plasmolysis. Plasmolysis is a process which occurs. The water come out from the cell. During the plasmolysis, the water moves out of the cell. And the plasma membrane, which is leave the cell wall and shrink. Then the cells becomes the plasma membrane which is shrink, come close, or which are fold. So the phenomenon, the loss of water from the cell in hypertonic solution, that is called plasmolysis. When the cells are placed in the hypertonic solution continuously, so first of all the water come out from the cytoplasm, later on from vacuole. So first of all the water come out from the cytoplasm, later on from the vacuole, and completely the protoplasm completely shrinkage. The shrinkage of the protoplasm in hypertonic solution, the cell protoplasm is shrink in hypertonic solution, that is known as plasmolysis. Shrinkage of protoplasm in hypertonic solution, that is because loss of water from the cell. So the water which moves out of the cell and the protoplasm shrink in hypertonic solution, that is called plasmolysis. This is important for 4 more questions. So what is plasmolysis? Define and explain the plasmolysis. So question will be asked you. So number of times such a question was in the question papers. So what is plasmolysis? Plasmolysis occur. The water come out from the cell and the plasma membrane gradually shrink when the cells are placed in hypertonic solution, that is plasmolysis. plasmolysis. So the water come out from the first cytoplasm from the cell and later on vacuole. Later on vacuole. Later on vacuole. Okay. So during the plasmolysis, when the water come out of the cell, the first of all the plasma membrane which move away from the cell wall at the corners. So the plasma membrane during the plasmolysis, when the water come out from the cell, the plasma membrane which leave the cell wall first at the corners. Such a plasmolysis is called incipient plasmolysis. The beginning of the plasmolysis. Incipient plasmolysis is nothing but beginning of the plasmolysis. So the plasmolysis begins first at the corners, because when the cells are placed in the hypertonic solution, the water come out from the cell and the plasma membrane leave the cell wall at the corners first and move away from the cell wall, and such process is called incipient plasmolysis. Incipient plasmolysis is also important for 2 marks. What is incipient plasmolysis? During the plasmolysis, first of all, the plasma membrane leave at the corners due to the loss of water. That is known as incipient plasmolysis. So the cells are continuously placed in the hypertonic solution. The protoplasm completely shrink. Then it is called plasmolyzed cell. So when the cells are placed continuously in the protoplasm, so the cells are placed in the hypertonic solution, the protoplasm completely shrink. Then it is called plasmolyzed cell. Thus in plasmolyzed cell. So when the cells are lose complete water, when the water come out from the cell completely, then it is called flaccid cells. In plasmolyzed cells, when the cells are placed in the hypertonic solution, the water come out from the cell and protoplasm completely shrinkage, that is called plasmolysis. So such cells are called flaccid cells. In flaccid cells, the pressure potential is 0. In flaccid cells, pressure potential is 0. So pressure potential is. So generally, naturally, the plasmolysis is not occur in the plants. Generally, the plasmolysis is not takes place in natural environment, in exception extreme water condition and salt habitat only. When the plasmolysis occurs, generally the plasmolysis is not takes place in the plant cells, in exception extreme water stress condition and salty habitat only. The plasmolysis takes place. Now plasmolysis occur, and so for preservation of the pickles, adding of the salt to the pickles, and preservation of the fish and meat by adding the salt is a best practical example of plasmolysis. What is the advantage? What is the use of plasmolysis? So there is a 2-mark question. What is plasmolysis and what are the practical application? 2-mark question is there. So just adding of the salt to pickles and preservation of the fishes and meat by adding the salt is best application, practical application of plasmolysis. That is the plasmolysis. Next, another more process of the water movement, that is imbibition. So imbibition It is also one of the means of transport. It is also one of the means of transport. So, I think you are not very much aware of, you are not heard this word. So, firstly, by your listen this word, but you are very much aware of this imbibition. This imbibition. So, we will observe in kitchen, in daily, in most of the houses, the dry Bengal gram which soaked in the water, after 10 hours, it increases its size. Increase of the size of solids is nothing but imbibition. By observing the water, increase of the volume of solids and colloids is called imbibition. Imbibition. So, increase of the volume of the colloids and solids by observing the water is called nothing but imbibition. Imbibition also a special type of diffusion. Imbibition also a special type of diffusion. Special type of diffusion. So, the best example is dry seeds and wooden pieces. Dry pieces and wooden pieces. So, when the dry seeds and wooden pieces are soaked in the water, it's increase its volume enormously. The phenomenon is called imbibition. Imbibition. So, if it creates some pressure, the prehistoric man who used the imbibition pressure to break down the boulders, if the imbibition pressure is not there, it is not possible. So, the prehistoric man used the imbibition pressure. So, during the imbibition, some pressure is increases in the solids. The used the imbibition pressure to break the boulders. As if it were not imbibition pressure, were not imbibition pressure, the seeds are not come out from the soil and also are not established in the soil. Imbibition pressure is not there. Imbibition pressure is not there. The seeds are not come out from the seedlings are not come out from the soil, and the seedlings are not established in the soil. So let I explain you once again what is imbibition. Imbibition is a special type of diffusion. The increase of the volume of colloids and solids by observing the water is called imbibition. It creates some pressure, that is imbibition pressure. The prehistoric man used the imbibition pressure to break down the boulders. If it were not imbibition, the seedlings are not come out from the soil and not established. So the imbibition capacity is vary from substance to substance. Imbibition capacity is different to the substance to substance. So the proteins have high imbibition capacity. Proteins have high imbibing capacity. Whereas the starch has less or low imbibing capacity. So the imbibition capacity, the imbibing capacities vary from substance to substance, depends on the type of substance. The proteins have high imbibing capacity than starch. Because of that, the proteinaceous seeds are germinate earlier than starchy seeds. The proteinaceous seeds are germinate earlier than the starch seeds. So thus, depending on the imbibing capacity, the proteinaceous seeds are germinate earlier than starchy seeds. So you know that imbibition is also a special type of diffusion. Imbibition also a special type of diffusion. So it depends on the concentration gradient concentration. So there is a relation of concentration. It depends on the concentration gradation. So the best example is wooden pieces and dry seeds. Right? So there is a concentration gradient the concentration gradients difference is between the absorbent and liquids. Then only imbibition takes place. So the concentration gradient is essential between the absorbent and liquid for imbibition, imbibing liquid. So for imbibition, the concentration gradient is essential between the absorbent and liquid imbibed. There is a requirement of it is essential concentration gradient between the absorbent and liquid imbibed. And also there is a affinity. There is a requirement of affinity between the absorbent and imbibing liquid. There is a relation, affinity between the absorbent and liquid imbibed for imbibition. So this is the topic, some topic today what we are discussed about that. In this topic, the important thing is, one is what is plasmolysis, what is the practical use of the plasmolysis, 4 more question important, and imbibition is a special diffusion, only 1 question, 2 more question is important, that is the difference of the imbibing capacity between pea seeds and maize seeds. Then the another question is in this chapter for 4 marks, and water potential. Explain about the water potential is another important question. Okay, this is the topic we covered. Now tomorrow we shall discuss, we will continue the next subtopics of the transport in plants. Okay, see you once again tomorrow, not tomorrow, on day after tomorrow we will meet at the same time for the same subject. Okay, thank you, welcome. Okay.
విద్యార్థుల భవిష్యత్తుకు బాటలు వేస్తూ మునుపెన్నడూ ఎరుగని అత్యుత్తమమైన ఫలితాలతో అద్భుతమైన